Hey y'all, Mama Snark here. I'm going to do a video on the best value resort hotel on Walt Disney World property. I have stayed at every single value resort at Disney World, as well as every single moderate resort, but I keep going back to the values. Price can't be beat, the convenience can't be beat, and honestly, my kids love the value resorts. My husband prefers the moderate resorts because of the lack of Disney theming there. He prefers a more like just streamlined hotel kind of vibe, whereas my kids love the over the top, like Disney giant statues in your face of the value resorts. I have never stayed at any of the deluxe resorts simply because they're out of my budget and out of my price range. And I'm sure I could probably finagle things to maybe do like a shorter trip and stay deluxe instead. But honestly, I love the Disney value resorts. You know, like I said, the price can't be beat, and we are park people. So if I'm spending the money and the time to go to Disney World, I'm going to be in the parks. I'm not a resort day kind of person. I've done like a resort daytime and then done a Christmas or a Halloween party in the evening, but I'm not really like a resort just kind of hang out during the day kind of person, because again, if I'm spending the money to go to Disney World, I'm going to be in the parks. So grab a beverage, grab a snack, settle in, and let's get started. So there are, let's see, 5 value resorts on Disney World property. You have Art of Animation Resort, Pop Century Resort. Both of these are on the Skyliner. And then you have the 3 All-Star resorts. You have All-Star Movies, All-Star Music, and All-Star Sports. So we're going to cover all 5 of those resorts, and I'll tell you which one is my favorite and what I like and dislike about each of the resorts. So we're going to start with the bottom tier, which is going to be the 3 All-Star resorts. So I'll start with All-Star Movies. All-Star Movies, I would say probably has the best theming of the All-Star resorts because it's going to be more of like the well-known theming. You've got your Toy Story section, you have 101 Dalmatians section, you have the Fantasia section, Mighty Ducks and Herbie, or the Love Bug section. Those are going to be a little lesser known, and those are going to be the non-preferred resort rooms. So like my kids have no idea what Mighty Ducks is. They have no idea what Herbie or the Love Bug is, but they do know Toy Story and they do know Dalmatians. So the theming of the All-Star Movies resorts is going to be the best, like just more well-known theming. And I think that's why it tends to be the most popular of the 3 All-Stars. And because of this, it typically tends to be the most expensive of the 3 All-Star resorts. Sometimes when you go to book, the 3 All-Star resorts will be the exact same price, but that tends to be rare. All-Star Movies tends to always sway a little bit more expensive than All-Star Music or All-Star Sports. The rooms at all of the All-Star resorts are pretty much the exact same for the most part, and the room at Pop Century is the same. All 3 of them have the fold down Murphy bed for your second bed. They all have, like, it turns into a table when it's not a bed. Bathrooms are about the same. I will say at all of the All-Star resorts, every room that I have stayed at there has a bathtub shower combination. I know this can be important for people with little kids that may be too small to stand up in a shower. So bath time is a little bit easier at the All-Star resorts for sure, because like I said, I have never had anything but a bathtub room there. So you're almost guaranteed, like I don't even think they have shower, like just the standalone showers there. So in terms of like bathing little kids at night, especially if they're small children and can't, like I said, can't stand up in a shower, you're going to have the bathtub. So All-Star Movies has the most well-known theming. The pool is really cool there. They have a really cool splash pad area that my little girl loved. You go and press a button on the sidewall, and it has one section that has all the little squirters that come up, and then right behind that is like a small, I think it's like maybe a foot deep, little shallow pool. And my little girl and her friend had fun playing with their little toys in that area. And then it has the bigger like Fantasia pool that has the Sorcerer Mickey with the water squirting out. And it's just a really big pool. All 3 of them have a pool and they all have multiple pools. So does All-Star Movies have a multiple? Yes, it does. It has, so all of them have multiple pools. All of them will have like the big grand pool. All Star Movies, you have the Fantasia pool. All Star Music, you have, I think it's called like the Calypso pool maybe. And then All Star Sports, they have a main pool as well. And then all three of these resorts also have a quiet pool, which is going to be a little bit of a smaller pool off to the side by, one of the side buildings. So all three All Star resorts offer the same amenities. They all have a food court, they all have a gift shop, and they all have buses. Now, in the past, the All Star resorts used to share buses, and this was a big headache and a nightmare at the end of the night, and it was awful. But since I have been going back, staying at the All Star resort since, I think 2021, maybe 2022, 2021, I've been going back. They haven't shared buses at all. So they each have their own bus stops. You go to the front of the buildings, like you go through the food court, through the main hall where you check in and stuff, and they will have the buses out front. They all have roped off queues where you wait for the bus. They have little poles that say what bus goes to what park. You line up, or to Disney Springs, you line up in the chained queue. So you have a spot in line. Buses show up around the clock to take you to the resorts. Now, in the morning for rope drop, and this is true at any resort, no matter where you're staying, deluxe, value, moderate, it doesn't matter. Rope drop, the buses are going to be a little bit insane. But they are quite efficient in whipping those buses through, especially for Magic Kingdom in the morning. They tend to get like the really, really long buses that can pack a lot of people in. Note, you have to fold, and this is true for any of the resorts, you have to fold your stroller down. But in the morning times, odds are you're going to end up standing. Sometimes people will be nice and offer their seat to small kids to sit down. Sometimes they won't. But this is true for all of the resorts. But like I said, they all have their own buses that run. The only time I've seen them share a bus recently is for Disney Springs, because Disney Springs isn't going to be as popular and it's not going to have as big of a load. So sometimes Disney Springs will share a bus. And in this case, the order that it drops off and picks up is going to be All Star Sports, then All Star Music, and then All Star Movies. So if you are staying at All Star Movies and you're going to Disney Springs, by the time that bus gets to you to pick you up, it may already be full of people and you have to stand. I recommend, if you're staying at All Star Movies, especially if you're in like the Mighty Ducks section, I would recommend walking over to All Star Music, because all three of the All Star resorts are connected. So I would recommend walking over to All Star Music and catching the bus there. I've done that several times. Or if you're at sports, walking over to music, or if you're at music, walking over to sports or movies, or vice versa. Depending on where you're staying at and where your building is, it might be quicker and easier for you to use one of the other All Stars bus systems. So I'll get to like hotel layout in a second. So that's All Star Movies. All Star Music has music themed, obviously, but it has different sections. My favorite is, it's like the 50 section, and it has like this really cool car and this giant jukebox like framing some of the buildings. That's one of my favorite sections just because I think it's adorable. They have like a country music section, jazz section, Broadway, and then I think like the Calypso, which is going to be your preferred rooms because it's got like the maracas and stuff, and it borders the pool and the dining like front area, so you're super close to getting to those. All Star Music is the only value resort, or the only All Star resort that offers family suites. So All Star Music and Art of Animation are the only resorts on Disney property that have family suites. These are going to be at a cheaper rate than getting like a 1 or 2 bedroom deluxe resort for sure. And they have beds, living room, like a living space where the beds kind of fold up and fold down, so you have like a couch situation to watch TV, and they have a kitchenette space. All Star Music would be my preferred family suite, simply because the refrigerator in that section is almost like a full-size fridge. It's not quite, it maybe like comes to here, but it has a full freezer section. So if you're doing a grocery delivery order, especially if you're there with children and you're going to be there for a week or more, you can get like TV dinners or bagel bites or pizza rolls or whatever and microwave those things, because it also has a microwave in the room. So the family suites, I've never stayed there. It's a little bit out of my price range, and we're a family of 4, so we don't need it. We have two kids sleep in one bed and then hubby and I sleep in the other bed. So family suites isn't necessary for us. And I believe, I'll put prices here, but I believe they run around like $500 a night for the family suites. But aside from that, All Star Music is going to be the All Star Resort that is in the middle of the other two. So you're going to have the most convenience in terms of walking over to either of the other resorts to use like their food court or their arcade or their gift shop or their buses if you want to do that. And then next or last on the list, this is the most newly renovated of the All Stars, and that's All Star Sports. So All Star Sports has like, I think, a tennis theme and a football theme and a baseball theme and surfing, like Surf's Up or something like that. But exact same rooms as All Star Music and All Star Movies. Like I said, all three of these have the same rooms, same floor space, same like interior design and everything like that. So price-wise, and I'm not sure why this is, but it tends to be All Star Movies is the most expensive. All Star Music is the like middle tier, and then All Star Sports is always the least expensive. And I guess that's because of the theming. Like maybe people don't care as much about sports. That's me, I don't care about sports. But out of all of the three All Star resorts, All Star Sports is my favorite. It is, again, always the cheapest for some reason. Sometimes sports and music will be the same price, but I still pick sports because it is the most newly renovated of all of the value resorts, and it's the only one that has USB-C plugs or outlets like on the dressers and stuff. The other ones just have the USB ports and like the 3-prong like plug-ins. I like having the USB-C ports because I have like all of the new charging cables come with 2 ends that have USB-Cs on them. So it makes it a little bit more convenient. It just has, I guess, because it's the most newly renovated, it does feel a little bit fresher than the other 2 All-Stars. All of them are clean. Y'all, Disney standards, you're not going to get a dirty room. And if you do, it's a one-off. So all of them are clean. But All-Star Sports tends to be my favorite for the fact that it is the most newly renovated. Also, because All-Star Sports is the smallest. And I'll insert some maps here if I can get them to all fit on the screen together. So picture this. End of the night, you're exhausted. Your kids are exhausted. You're potentially carrying a child if you don't have a stroller with you. And I never book preferred unless that's the only option available, just because money-wise, I don't see the point in it. Like, I can walk. But All-Star Music and All-Star Movies have an extra building at the end of the line. So if you're not staying preferred, you potentially have like a whole extra section to walk through to get to your room at the end of the night, especially if you're put like at the very last corner. It's going to take you a little bit longer to get there. So All-Star Sports it's a little bit of a shorter resort, so you don't have that extra building at the end. So even if you are at the furthest corner of the furthest building, which I've been in before, it seems like less of a walk than if you are at Music or Movies. And that extra steps at the end of the night, like, it saves you, because when you get back from the parks, if you've done all day at the parks, you are just like done. So that is why All-Star Sports tends to be my favorite. Also, in regards to playgrounds, all three All-Star resorts have playgrounds. They all have sand in them. And I did a whole Playgrounds at Disney video, and I'll link that down below for you. Why? I hate sand. I hate sand so much, y'all. The kids like sit down and just like put it all over themselves. It's all in their shoes. They can't take their shoes off. So like it gets in their tennis shoes and their socks and their clothes and their shorts and their pockets and whatever. I hate sand. But all three All-Star resorts do have a playground. They have sand in them. My least favorite of these playgrounds is going to be All-Star Movies because it is not fenced in. And the way that the playground is built, it has like a handicap ramp, and the only way to like you can't guard all of the entrances. You've got to stay on top of your kid. So if your kid's in the playground and they decide to go out the handicap ramp that way, you've got to like haul it and go up the ramp this way or go out of it and go around to catch them. So if you have a runner, All-Star Movies playground is not great. All-Star Music and All-Star Sports both have fenced in like gated playgrounds. So those are my winners on the playground situation. That way you can actually like go in, sit, and watch your kid play and not have to worry about them running off in a direction that you're not going to see. And you can also see like who comes in and who comes out. So you have a full visual. You can sit down and watch them play without worrying about it. So All-Star Music and All-Star Sports has my favorite playgrounds of the 3 All-Star resorts. And again, with the buses, if you are in a building like towards the ends, like the outskirts of one of the resorts, when I get to the bus area at the park at the end of the night, I see which one has a bus coming up quicker, because sometimes, like say I'm staying at All-Star Music and I look and All-Star Music or All-Star Movies or All-Star Sports has a bus pulling up, I'm going to hop into that line instead, take that bus. I'm going to get back to my resort a little bit quicker. And then when I get off the bus, I'm just going to go through and walk to that All-Star resort versus waiting potentially 15, 20 minutes for a new bus to come along, because you don't know how long it's been since that first bus took off. So that's one of my biggest tips with the buses for the All-Star resorts. If you don't mind walking a little bit, see which bus pulls in quicker and hop on that one. So of the 3 All-Star resorts, my favorite is Sports by a landslide. I'll book that one every time. Now, coming up to the other 2 value resorts. These are the most popular and more expensive than the All-Stars. You have Pop Century Resort and Art of Animation Resort. So I'll start with Art of Animation. This tends to be the most expensive, even if you're staying in one of the Little Mermaid rooms. So they have 2 categories. They have the family suites, which I had kind of mentioned before, that has a separate bedroom, separate bath for like the parents, and then it has a dining table in the kitchen area that folds down into a Murphy bed, and then it has a separate living room area that has a pull-out couch with the TV, and it also has a separate bathroom for that whole area, and it has a little kitchenette with like a small refrigerator and a microwave and a sink and a coffee pot and stuff. Those rooms, Sleep 6, they're gonna run you upwards 400 plus a night. You might be looking at close to 700 a night, depending on the time of the season. The Nemo rooms are gonna be the most expensive, and those are gonna be kind of like the preferred rooms because they're the closest to the main building. And then you have the Little Mermaid rooms, which is what I'm gonna talk about in regards to this video, because like for me, staying value means like staying value. So the Little Mermaid room sleeps 4. It's got 2 beds. I stayed in one with my little girl and we got a king bed because I figured that would get us a room quicker, and it was just the 2 of us and we were co-sleeping, so I didn't need 2 beds. But typically the Little Mermaid rooms have 2 beds in them. You know, bathroom, beverage cooler, coffee pot, all the same kind of things. I do love the theming of the Little Mermaid rooms. It has this color behind me, like laminate flooring, my favorite color. So the color of that room just makes me happy overall. It's got, you know, like a Little Mermaid themed painting. It's got the headboard, I think is like a seashell, and it has an Ariel shower curtain, and it's themed to the Little Mermaid, and it is a vibe. My little girl was so excited when I took her there and stayed with her. I was excited. Like I said, the color of the room, like, it is my favorite color, so it made me super happy. But the Little Mermaid rooms sometimes can be just as expensive as booking a room at a moderate resort. You can stay at Coronado Springs typically for around the same price as staying at a Little Mermaid room. So kind of weigh the pros and cons of that. So for me, that is the reason why Art of Animation Little Mermaid rooms are at the bottom of the tier of the value resorts for me. It has Skyliner access. Art of Animation is on the Skyliner, which bumps it up. But for the price, I'm not willing to sacrifice an extra $100, maybe a little bit more than that, a night to stay at the Little Mermaid room versus staying at All-Star Sport and just dealing with the bus for a couple of minutes a day. For me, I can't justify it personally. Now, if you have the money, you have a kid that is gung-ho Little Mermaid, this is a like once a year trip or once in a lifetime trip, save up the little bit of extra and go ahead and stay in that Little Mermaid room. For me personally, I'd prefer to go to Disney as often as I can afford it and can save up for it. And for me, that means staying as cheap as I can. So All-Star Sports is typically my go-to in that regard, or, you know, whatever is available of the cheapest hotel is kind of what I tend to go for. But Little Mermaid room, like I said, the theming is amazing. The hotel theming is amazing because it's got Little Mermaid, Cars, Lion King, Nemo. The pool is huge and fabulous. It's on the Skyliner Resort. It's got a big gift shop, a big food court, a big, it's a cool hotel. It's got this huge playground, which if you watch my playgrounds video, is my least favorite playground on Disney property because it is so big and it's not fenced in, and it has so many entrance and exits of this playground. My husband and I are like Secret Service agents, constantly circling around this thing to keep track of our kids because we're not ones, our kids are 6 and 4 currently, and we're not ones to just kind of let them go and run amok because they're not old enough, I don't feel like, to be able to do that. So we are constantly eyes on them and circling, and it's exhausting. So Little Mermaids for me, bottom of the rung, unfortunately. Cool hotel, very expensive. Just if I'm staying a value resort, it's going to be my like last pick, more than likely. And then that leaves us with Pop Century Resort. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, this is my favorite of the value resorts, hands down. I have stayed here more times than I can count. It is on the Skyliner Resort, which is why it's more expensive. It's going to be the largest of the value resorts that have the normal rooms. Art of Animation is equally as large, but it's mostly family suites. There's only one section that's the Little Mermaid, like the normal 4 sleeper rooms with the 2 beds. Pop Century is going to be your largest value resort that has the most amount of the 4 sleeper, like 2 bed rooms. This resort's large, and at the end of the night, if you get stuck in the 90s section and that far back corner, and you got to trek it all the way there at the end of the night, you feel it. But for me, it's still not worth it to book a preferred room just because of the cost difference. It could be like 80 extra bucks a night to book preferred and be closer to the Skyliner or the buses. That's not worth it for me. I'm fine staying in the regular rooms. So the Pop Century rooms pretty much look exactly the same as the All-Star rooms. They all have the same like Mickey headboard, the same pull-down bed. I think the pull-down bed, like the background theming is a little bit different, and the color of the bathroom in Pop Century is different. It's like this teal color, which again makes my heart happy. But Pop Century, note if you have small children, I have gotten both a standing shower room as well as a bathtub shower combo room. You can request a bathtub room at check-in or prior to check-in, but it's not guaranteed. So just note and potentially have a backup plan. If you get stuck in a room with a standing shower and you have small kids, it might be difficult. I do believe that the shower head does detach and come down so you can kind of spray them and hose them down. But note, bathtub might be a little bit tricky at the end of the night if you have little kids and no bathtub. So that might be like my only negative of Pop Century. For us personally, it's not a problem. Our kids are old enough to shower, and truth be told, when they weren't old enough to shower, I got in the shower with them, and I would like hold them under the spray and get them wet, and then kind of put them down and bathe them, and then pick them up and hose them off, and then pass them to hubby. He would get them out and dry them off, pass me the next kid, repeat the process, and then I would shower afterwards. So that was kind of our method. I know some people are weird about that, but that's what worked for us when our kids were really little. But now that our kids are, like I said, 4, almost 5 years old, and 6, they can shower. It's no problem. Like I said, Pop Century is on the Skyliner. The room is comfortable. Like even that pull-down bed, same at the All-Star Resorts, the pull-down bed is just as comfortable as the stationary not pull-down bed. I really enjoy having the option to push that bed up during the day and bring the chairs over to have a table for my kids to sit at if we get food from the food court. We usually do a grocery delivery order, so we have a space for them to like sit at a table and eat their meal without sitting on the beds or sitting on the floor and eating, because kids. If you have kids, you understand. So I really do love that feature. The Little Mermaid doesn't have that feature. It does have a table with 2 chairs, but I like the option to be able to put that bed up during the day and have a little bit of extra space, personally. Organization-wise, I feel like the Little Mermaid rooms at Art of Animation have the least amount of storage. They only have like the normal closet bar and then the countertop with I think they have a couple of shelves underneath, but that's it. So you're going to have to bring like a hanging organizer or something to maximize the space in that room. Pop Century and all of the All-Star resorts, in the bathroom, they have like this huge cubby that has the clothes hangers and things like that on it. The mirror and the bathroom vanity, like with the sink, you have a ton of counter space, and you also have a ton of cubbies on the side and at the bottom that have space for you to put things in. I love what they have done with the renovated rooms for the value resorts in terms of space. Like, I feel like it has more space than the moderate resorts that I've stayed at, all of them. So again, I tend to say value resort out of all of them because I don't mind them. I will say the walls at the value resorts can be quite thin, especially if you have a connecting room and you're not like with the connecting party. It can get a little bit loud. You can hear like the people above you flushing their toilet or turning on their shower. If kids are screaming and loud, you're going to be able to hear that. I always travel with a white noise machine. Having a sound machine is crucial to having a good night's sleep. I'll link my favorite ones down below. I have a couple of different ones I like to travel with, but bring a white noise machine no matter what value resort you stay at because it will be a little bit louder. And if you want to kind of drown that out and get a good night's sleep, that's going to help you out. So again, circling back to the Skyliner. The Skyliner is the reason hubby requests Pop Century anytime we go on a family trip. Having the Skyliner is the best mode of transportation, and I'll link my full Skyliner video down below as well. But we always make sure that we bring either single or tandem strollers so that we can just push our kids directly onto the Skyliner bucket. It is constantly moving. You are only in there with maybe like a couple of other people. You are guaranteed a seat. So end of the night, coming back from the park to the resort, you're not going to have to stand in a crowded bus, and you're not going to have to stand potentially holding a child on a crowded bus. You're all going to have a space to sit down. And that in and of itself, and the fact that it loads and unloads like slowly, bucket by bucket, unlike the monorail or the ferry boat where it docks and then everyone gets off like cattle, the Skyliner, hands down, is worth the money to stay there any day of the week for me. So that pushes Pop Century. Like, if it wasn't for the Skyliner, I would honestly probably stay All-Star Sports every time. But because of the Skyliner resort, or because of the Skyliner, Pop Century, up here. If I can swing it and I can afford it, I will pick Pop Century Resort every time, hands down. Like, I'm gonna pick Pop Century. Food court, it has a food court. It has a little gift shop area, you know, same as all of the value resorts and most of the moderate resorts and everything like that. Like, all that's basically going to be the same. The food court's no different. The little gift shop area is not going to have anything extra. I mean, it might have something extra, but it's not going to be any different than any of the other value resorts. I will say, I feel like Art of Animation's gift shop is a little bit cooler and tends to have a little bit more, like, options of things. But also, if you're staying at Pop Century, say the Skyliner station's here, you can walk across the back of the resort into Art of Animation. And Art of Animation's right here. So you can very easily walk from Pop Century to Art of Animation, use their food court, their gift shop. You cannot pool hop. That's a no-no. You have to scan your Magic Band in order to get into the pool at Art of Animation. But Pop Century's pool, just as cool. It has Life Vest. It has a little ledge going around the whole edge of the pool so you can sit and let your kids kind of play. It's got like these flower sprayer things that spray. It has a quiet pool as well, the little computer pool off between the 80s and the 90s building. It's got the cool, like, larger than life statues. It has this really cool foosball section. I think it's like, so you come out of the dining and the gift shop and you take a left, and it's got this really big foosball area. It has these giant foosball statues and, like, you know, turf and stuff like that. I cannot tell you the mileage my kids have gotten running around that foosball thing. They love it so much. It's so fun for them. And then also Pop Century's playground is my top playground out of all of the value resorts because it is fenced in. It does not have sand. It has these little like pebbles. So, you know, I mean, you can just take a shoe off and dump the pebbles out and you're good to go. It's not sticking to anything. It's fairly large and it's got like seating all the way around it. So if my kids need to burn off some energy because they've been sitting in a stroller all day, I've been pushing the stroller all day, I'm exhausted. My kids have energy to burn. I can go in, shut the gate, sit down on the edge, let my kids run wild. They're not getting coated in sand. They're not going to get, snatched by anyone because I can have eyes on them. I know who's coming in and coming out of the gate. Love Pop Century's playground. So overall for me, rankings of the value resorts. Pop Century number 1, cannot beat that Skyliner. Number 2 is All Star Sports. Most newly renovated, has the USB-C ports. I would say All Star Movies after that, just because of the theming. Followed by All Star Music. Same rooms. I like that it's the middle All Star Resort, so I can easily catch a bus from either or, and it's smack in the middle. Lastly is going to be Art of Animation. The Little Mermaid rooms are my least favorite, simply by the fact that they are so dang expensive. And they have Skyliner access, but so does Pop Century for like $100 less a night. I can't justify that personally. So there you have it, my rankings for all of the Disney World value resorts. And as I am filming this video, I actually have 2 stays coming up, staying at Pop Century Resort. I'm thinking about changing, if they have a good like promo code coming out, I'm thinking about changing my family trip in March to Art of Animation Little Mermaid room, simply because my son hasn't stayed there before and he likes to see the fish hotel. Like he always wants to go over there and look at everything. So I'm contemplating switching if the price is right. But as of now, I have two trips booked for Pop Century Resort, simply because Skyliner is life and you can't beat it, y'all. So if you can afford it to bump up from an All-Star level resort to the Pop Century Resort, I recommend it, hands down. Do it. So that is it for my rankings of the Disney World value resorts. Hopefully this video was helpful in planning your trip. I know it can be stressful. Disney World costs a lot of money, and for me, it comes to convincing my husband on the Disney hotels because he's not a Disney addict like I am, sadly, and like my kids are. So he prefers the moderate resorts for the lack of theming, but because of the price difference, he's totally fine staying at Pop Century because it still has that Skyliner access. So there you have it. Like I said, hopefully this was helpful. Make sure you give this video a like and a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, subscribe, and follow along for more content. Bye guys.